SmackDown Here Comes the Pain and SVR06 were great games. From Here Comes the Pain's smooth but arcadey gameplay, good graphics, revolutionary things to do such as roam backstage, jump from a helicopter, and the bras and panties match. And SVR06, which just took everything from Here Comes the Pain but made it more realistic, added the stamina bar and momentum. Both of these games are great. It was one less SmackDown game that was just as good as these two. It just took everything that was built upon from Here Comes the Pain and SVR06 and made it better. That game is SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. SVR07 basically took the good from 06 and made it better. The stamina, momentum, and the realism of wrestling. Better GM mode and low-key, the best story mode they could have given us. And of course, added some new things in there, so it won't be like the original SmackDown vs. Raw. What's really cool is that this game came out on the PlayStation 2 and Xbox 360, meaning it was the first game to come on the next generation of console. However, the only thing that was different last gen to next gen is the graphics, which did make gameplay smoother, but everything else was the same. HQ and Ukes was like Control C, Control V, new graphics, there you go. Nah, it didn't matter which console you got it on, it was still a good game. So let me take you back to 2006 and relive the beauty of SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. The video started. This is the best soundtrack of any game. My favorite song is Riot. Love to hear that while playing GM mode. First off, can we talk about how THQ and Ukes just bamboozled the fuck out of us, showing us this lit ass trailer with the greatest graphics of all time and the smoothest gameplay ever. However, most video games did this when jumping over to the Xbox 360, but damn, you low-key gave a lot of people's hope up. I remember when I watched this trailer on YouTube before getting the game, I was so fucking excited. I thought I was getting the greatest wrestling game to ever exist because it looked damn good, only to find out it was CGI animated and was a reference to what the game should look like. F in the chat for people who actually believe this was the real trailer. To be honest, everything is the same from SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 to 2007. All the modes are still here, except for Fulfill Your Fantasy and 3 Stages of Hell. However, it is the debut of the Money in the Bank ladder match, which is where 6 men fight in a ladder match for the Money in the Bank briefcase. The one thing I love about ladder matches in this game is that you have to play a little mini game for you to take the briefcase down. See, in older games, you just jumped on the title and held on and prayed that you will fall down with the title before someone caught you. However, in this one, you have to find the best holding point and tug down in order for it to come loose. This requires stamina, just like almost everything else, but I thought it was pretty cool of a feature. The funnest part though is the fact that I got to lean a ladder against another ladder and wild out like Shelton Benjamin did in the real life match. GMO was brought back and in my opinion was the best ever. It was just like the last one. Pick a show, draft a roster, book matches for an entire year against a CPU or your friend and see who's the GM of the year. However, there were some things that were tweaked, such as accurate popularity. Some superstars have very low popularity that deserve a higher one, such as Shawn Michaels, RVD, Edge, Randy Orton, and Eddie Guerrero. Those were fixed, so was the cruiserweight, but not everyone was a cruiserweight. Ric Flair is not a cruiserweight, neither is Shawn Michaels, and neither is RVD. And rivalries actually help your show and doesn't hurt it like last year, which I thought was crazy. But yeah, it's basically the same with those small and minor tweaks, which in my opinion just made it way better. Plus the roster, which we're finna get into in a minute, was a little bit better than last year. The roster was also the same. We saw the same old, like Triple H, The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, and Ric Flair, John Cena, Batista, Edge, RVD, Rey Mysterio, Randy Orton. All those guys had already peaked last year, so they just got better this year. There are some new guys, just Johnny Nitro, Joey Mercury, Mr. Kennedy, Umaga, Finley, The Great Khali, Bobby Lashley. However, this is the last game to have Kurt Angle until 2K18. This was also the last year to have Chris Benoit due to the Benoit tragedy. Look it up if you want to know. But there were 67 wrestlers in total. Legends in this game were immaculate, such as The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan, Shane McMahon, Roddy Piper, Bret Hart, Jim Neidhart, Jerry the King Lawler, Eddie Guerrero, and Mrs. Foley's baby boy. Arenas back in the day were something special because they were all different. It wasn't just a big screen with the pay-per-view logo on it. Each pay-per-view had a special stage and arena, which is something we miss to this day. On the surface, SVR07 low-key looks like a revamp of 06. However, once you pick a wrestler, pick a stage, similarities begins to end. Because once that bell rings, you will see a notable difference between SVR07 and SVR06. One of the biggest things that changed was grappling. Before, it was just a circle. However, this year you had to use the right stick. Holding the right stick, the R button, would allow you to do ultimate control moves, which are grapples that are used in wrestling matches. So if you want to do a suplex, you can hold him in the air, press whatever button, let him down. If you're in fireman's position, you can do an AA or you can spin him around like a helicopter. But oh no, things get way better from here. See, there was control control over what you could do. Like, for example, you put someone to the ropes, you could rub their head against it, or put your opponent on the top rope and move it up and down to prevent them from having children in the future. If you're in the corner, you can do many things like spears to the turnbuckle or even punches to the face. Also get to control how many times you want to bash someone's face in on the steel stair. Once, twice, 100 times, nobody cares. However, these things took stamina, so the more you did it, more stamina going to be wasted. But it doesn't matter, it's fun either way. Another thing that was introduced was fighting in the crowd, which is kinda a lie since it's just a little area in between the crowds, but hey, who's complaining? You take two wrestlers there and there's so much things you can do, such as to interact with a variety of weapons laying down, getting custom weapons from the crowd, smashing your opponent's head onto the guardrails or even the stereo. And if you're really a maniac, you can jump from the top of a balcony and just end a whole man's career. It was just so much fun to do back there. My favorite thing had to be jumping from the banister. Other than that, everything else was the same, but it was more realistic. But it still had that arcadey feel. So if you want to, you can have the weird shit of a Money in the Bank match and go wild, but then you can have a realism of a 60-man Iron Man match. There was just variety in the game at the same time. Brawls was also updated. You could brawl in a bar or do it in an actual parking lot. Season mode was back and better than ever. Two different storylines, one for Raw and one for SmackDown. However, what I loved about the story modes was that it wasn't just one storyline. There were multiple storylines. One month you're doing something with Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper. The next month you're doing something with Johnny Nitro and wondering your loyalty to SmackDown or Raw. What's also funny is even after you go to WrestleMania, you can get traded from Raw to SmackDown and vice versa. Do stories that you haven't unlocked yet, such as Triple H making himself the general manager and trying to give himself a title shot. JBL just being your friend even though he just wanted it for the title. It was just replay value for this. Even though there was something you didn't do, go back and do it. Because I know there's like 3 that I haven't even played. Favorite has to be Benoit and Taker. However, Undertaker, you wrong for this.
Your grieving family will have no one to blame but you when the inevitable occurs.
Kinda fucked up when you realize happened a year later. Damn, Undertaker. But yeah, it's just fun. There's so much stuff to do and so many different interactive story modes you want to do. A storyline that may actually happen in WWE, then Benoit versus Taker may be your favorite. But if you like some batshit crazy like Candice Michelle you into a female or magic stick, then boom, that's your storyline. Doesn't matter. The story mode just fits every people who like realistic storylines, the ones that just like funny and probably something that only happened in a video game storyline. But damn, Teddy, did you have to do Ray like that? All my man wanted was a World Heavyweight Championship match. SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 on the surface looks like SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 with better graphics and maybe a new roster. Once you turn it on, you just get hooked. It took everything that was in 06, made it better, and even added its own touch to it. Could have been like SmackDown vs. Raw, the original, and just was like, let's just copy and paste, here comes the pain. Oh, but change the camera angle so it looks like a brand new game. Nah, this game was like 06 just came out, alright, I'ma take what was good, make it better, add my own shit, and probably update the stuff that was bad in that game, and release on the next generation of consoles, which was Control-C, Control-V, new graphics, now get the fuck out of my face. Is it better than Here Comes the Pain and SmackDown vs. Raw 2006? In my personal opinion, no. That doesn't take anything away from it. 07 is a better version of 06. To be honest, 07, 06, and Here Comes the Pain could be changed with the right argument. I still believe Here Comes the Pain is the best wrestling game of all time. If you're a wrestling fan and you grew up with this, or hell, even played it, let me know what your experience was. I would really like to know. Anyways, thanks for watching.